My buddy and I transmigrated into a book together. He's the lapdog of the scheming second female lead, and I'm the stand-in for the psycho female villain. On the surface, we pine away with unrequited love, but behind closed doors, we're burning through cash like there's no tomorrow. After 3 years of living it up, the real male lead, the first love, comes back. When we find out that both the second female lead and the villain will go crazy for the male lead, my buddy shows up at my door in the middle of the night with a small backpack. I've saved enough money. What about you? I grin. I'm a bit short, but I can spend yours. So we faked our deaths together. 3 years later, my buddy unfortunately runs into his scheming ex-wife. I quickly say, I'll cover for you, run, but when I turn around, I bump into a soft chest. The psycho female villain calmly takes off her stockings and ties my hands. You'd better worry about yourself first. When Grace suddenly came back, Ryan was showing me his new pink diamond ring. Seeing Grace's exclusive Maybach pull into the driveway, Ryan quickly pushed me. Quick, hide. Like an adulterer caught in the act, I hurriedly hid in the closet. I'd barely hidden when Grace pushed open the door and walked in. Ryan, who had just been happily showing off his wealth, now had reddened eyes and looked utterly heartbroken. Hearing Grace open the door, Ryan gave a bitter laugh. So you still know how to come home? Grace strode up to Ryan. She looked down at him. Ethan is missing. Ryan, I've told you, Ethan is just an ordinary guy I sponsor. The grudge between the Sullivan and Mitchell families. Please take it out on me, not on innocent people. Ryan understood. His eyes widened in disbelief. You think I kidnapped him? Grace closed her eyes. Ethan disappeared after calling you. I can't help but suspect you. The phone rang at that moment. Grace answered, glanced at Ryan. Okay, I'll be right there. Grace turned to leave. Ryan lost control and rushed forward, grabbing her hand. Grace, it really wasn't me. Grace's eyes were cold as ice. I'll investigate. Until the results come out, I won't see you again. Ryan's tears fell instantly. Can you leave tomorrow? His eyes were red, his tone humble. Today is our wedding anniversary. Could you please stay with me, even just for one night? Grace was silent for 2 seconds, but finally pulled her hand away. Sorry, the police have a lead on Ethan. I have to go check. The sound of the door closing echoed as Ryan called out desperately, Grace, come back. We were both quiet for 2 seconds, listening to Grace's footsteps fade away. Oh my God, she finally left. Ryan wiped the tears from his face and let me out of the closet. I praised him. Damn, that was some great acting. Ryan rolled his eyes. Cut the crap. Things don't look good, we need to make a plan. The male lead has appeared and started stirring up trouble. My wife has already started tormenting me, and yours probably isn't far behind. I thought for a moment. You mean, we need to run? Ryan said firmly. If we don't run now, we might make the money but not live to spend it. Ryan and I both transmigrated into the book. He's the lapdog of the scheming second female lead Grace, who married her through a family alliance. After 3 years of marriage, Grace treats him coldly. I'm the stand-in for the psycho female villain Chloe, who keeps me in a villa for 3 years because I look like her childhood first love. Neither Ryan nor I are unhappy with our respective positions. After all, the Sullivan family comes from politics with deep connections that no one dares to offend. And Chloe controls both the underworld and legitimate businesses, using any means necessary. She's a mad dog everyone fears. If there's one thing they have in common, it's that they're rich, super rich. These 3 years, Ryan and I have been performing heartbroken, unrequited love on the surface while secretly spending money like crazy and having the time of our lives. But now the situation has changed. The male lead Ethan is back. According to the plot, Ryan's wife Grace is Ethan's most loyal protector. As for my girlfriend Chloe, needless to say, Ethan is her first love. She'd kill gods and Buddhas for Ethan, trading her life for his happiness. If we don't leave now, it'll be too late, Ryan said. Ethan isn't easy to deal with. He deliberately called me and then disappeared, making Grace think I kidnapped him. Grace is one thing, at most she'll be cold to me. But what about Chloe? That psycho is capable of anything. I shuddered. True, when Chloe took me to her gatherings, just because one woman's eyes lingered on my chest for a few seconds, Chloe had her legs broken and thrown into international waters. I'm just a stand-in and Chloe can go that crazy. If she really thinks I hurt her first love Ethan, 8 lives wouldn't be enough to pay. Leave, we must leave. You can hurt my feelings, but you absolutely cannot hurt my personal safety. Seeing I'd made up my mind, Ryan asked, have you saved enough money? I shook my head. No, but I know you definitely have, so I plan to spend yours. After confirming we had enough assets, we began planning our escape. After discussing, only one plan was feasible: faking our deaths. There was no choice. Over these 3 years, Ryan and I had become the closest men to the 2 female bosses in Boston. We knew too many insider secrets about the Sullivan and Mitchell families. If we didn't die, even if Grace and Chloe let us go, too many other eyes in Boston would be watching. Who dies first? I asked Ryan. He said, me first, you after. Why can't I die first? I protested. I'd rather die first. Everyone knows the one who dies later has to clean up the mess for the first. Ryan said, rock, paper, scissors. He won. I said, best 2 out of 3. He won again. I said angrily, fine, you die first. Ryan went off smugly to prepare for his death. I went home to pack. My most valuable items were hidden in the basement. But as soon as I entered the basement, someone covered my eyes. Chloe used her stockings to blindfold me and whispered in my ear, where were you? She smelled faintly of blood. I wondered if she'd just killed someone. Even after 3 years, I was still instinctively afraid of Chloe, my voice trembling slightly. I went to buy you a gift. I spread my hand open, revealing a rose-shaped silver brooch lying in my palm. It wasn't expensive, but Chloe seemed happy. She picked me up and set me on the piano. What do you want to hear today? I said obediently, I like everything you play. 10 years ago, Chloe's mother hated her daughter so much that she locked her in a mental hospital. Chloe was abused and given electroshock therapy daily. She wanted to kill herself countless times, until she discovered a rose garden in the mental hospital with an abandoned piano. She played piano there every day, and a boy outside the wall would come to listen. That boy was Ethan. After I came to Chloe's side, she planted a whole garden of roses for me. She had me wear white shirts and listen to her play piano. Today, Chloe's playing was somewhat agitated. Halfway through, she suddenly stopped irritably, gripped my calf, and pulled me from the piano into her arms. I landed heavily on the keys, the chaotic notes drowning out my gasp. Chloe began kissing me, her kisses invasive and possessive, her breathing as chaotic as her mood. She said, next time, don't leave without my permission. I answered obediently enough, but Chloe still seemed to lack security. She tore open my shirt and pulled me into her embrace. I have to say, I'm luckier than Ryan. Ryan only gets the pleasure of spending money. My pleasures are more varied, but I can't let Chloe know. When she held me with a thin sheen of sweat, kissing my cheek, I suddenly started crying. Chloe kissed away my tears, her voice low. Why are you crying? I said, do you love me? Chloe's face turned slightly cold. These 3 years, she'd given me almost everything I wanted, spoiling me rotten. But regarding our relationship status, we both tacitly never mentioned it. I'm just a stand-in. Besides looks, the most important thing for a stand-in is knowing their place. Pestering your patron about their true feelings is very inappropriate behavior. Chloe's silence was the best answer. But I stubbornly pressed on, Chloe, am I the man you love most? Chloe stood up and dressed. Seeing she was about to leave, I cried, where are you going? Chloe stopped. She turned back, her expression cold, as if the person who'd just been entangled with me wasn't her. Jason, you've crossed a line. Boy toys have no right to question their mistress's whereabouts. These 3 years I'd behaved perfectly, but today of all days, I seemed unwilling to give up. After Chloe left, I called her many times. She rejected every call. I breathed a sigh of relief. Perfect. Chloe was giving me a small punishment. That meant for at least 3 days, she wouldn't answer my calls or come to this villa to see me. The safety of running away just increased significantly. I quickly packed my valuables and secretly moved them to a safe location. Late at night, Ryan came to find me. You ready? I said, ready. Ryan didn't trust me and checked everything again. Good. He nodded satisfactorily. Time to die. That day, many major events occurred. First, Grace's people found the unconscious Ethan in an abandoned building. Ethan held a bead in his hand. When Grace saw it, her pupils contracted. She recognized that bead. A year ago on their wedding anniversary, for the sake of both families' reputation, she'd bought Ryan a gift. It was a traditional Chinese robe that a heritage craftsman spent 3 years handmaking, covered in intricate embroidery, with each jade button worth a fortune. The bead in Ethan's hand was from that robe. Ms. Sullivan, could it really be that your husband arranged this? The female assistant murmured beside her. Everyone knew the Sullivan and Mitchell family's marriage was just business, but Ryan loved Grace to the point of obsession. A man's jealousy is most terrifying. Seeing Grace cold to him but gentle with Ethan, how could Ryan not act against Ethan? Grace closed her eyes. Let's go to the hospital first. On the way, Ethan woke up. When he saw clearly that Grace had saved him, tears kept falling, wetting his white shirt. Miss Sullivan, he said, I'm very grateful for everything you've done for me, but we shouldn't see each other anymore. Grace said gently, don't be afraid. Who tied you up there? Did you see the kidnapper's face? Ethan paused and shook his head. No, I can't say. He bit his lip, eyes misty with tears. Ms. Sullivan, others say you control everything in Boston, but only I know you have many unavoidable difficulties too. I understand the Mitchell family's importance to your career, so you and Mr. Mitchell really can't have any more conflicts because of me. Grace's hand tightened imperceptibly. It was Ryan. It really was Ryan. Grace had actually still held onto a sliver of hope that Ryan hadn't done this. But now that last hope was shattered. Ethan watched Grace's expression. With tears in his eyes, he said timidly, Ms. Sullivan, please don't blame Mr. Mitchell. He only did this because he loves you too much. Just then, the phone rang. Grace could barely suppress her anger. Hello? Hello? Is this Ms. Sullivan? I was startled by the anger in Grace's voice. But I gripped the phone and said anxiously, I'm Ryan's friend. Ryan is in the hospital in critical condition. Can you come quickly? On the other end, Grace was silent. She said, what trick is he playing now? I became more anxious. What are you talking about? Ryan just had a car accident. His condition is very serious. Enough, Grace said coldly. He's played this game many times before. Every time he does something wrong, he either pretends to be sick or hurts himself to make me feel sorry for him. This time he knows he's gone too far, so he staged a car accident. Please tell him if he's injured, go see a doctor. I'm not a physician. Grace, I shouted, but it was useless. The call was disconnected. Grace threw her phone aside and remained silent for a long time. Ethan asked considerately, did something happen to Mr. Mitchell? Should we go see him first? I'm fine. Grace rubbed her temples irritably. Don't worry about him. Ethan bit his lip and said thoughtfully, Mr. Mitchell must be very scared right now. He just wants to see you. You're married. There's no conflict that can't be resolved. The more he persuaded, the colder Grace's expression became. Ethan, don't worry, she said. I won't be biased just because he's my husband. I'll definitely give you justice in this matter. Tears clung to Ethan's lashes, about to fall. Ms. Sullivan, you're so kind. Ms. Sullivan to Boston General Hospital? The female driver asked. Boston General was a private hospital jointly funded by the Sullivan and Mitchell families. Grace said coldly, no, go to City Hospital. Ethan could see Grace was avoiding Ryan. Ryan was at Boston General, and Grace would rather switch hospitals than stop by to see him. He lowered his head and smiled silently. Grace took Ethan to City Hospital. After examination, the doctor said besides some external injuries, Ethan had no major problems. But his spirit seemed severely traumatized. He'd fall asleep briefly then wake up crying. Ethan said tearfully to Grace, Miss Sullivan, go ahead with your business. Don't worry about me. Grace, who had wavered about whether to check on Ryan, decided to stay after seeing Ethan's pitiful state. Ethan's condition stabilized 2 days later. When Grace left the hospital, she finally turned on her personal phone. She thought there would be dozens of messages and missed calls from Ryan. But this time it was completely empty, nothing at all. Grace felt an inexplicable strange feeling. She'd never felt this before. Grace wanted to calm this feeling. But after staying in her office for a long time, she couldn't help calling me. Where's Ryan? Grace asked coldly. Let him answer the phone. I was quiet for a very long time. I know you're Ryan's friend. Grace was already impatient. Tell Ryan to come see me immediately. Ryan is dead, I said softly. The other side was silent for a long time. A moment later, I heard Grace let out a scoff. Stop playing these games with me. Her voice then became serious. Tell him I've calmed Ethan down. Ethan agreed not to call the police and not tell anyone about this. Ryan doesn't need to hide anymore. Tell him to come see me right away. I said nothing more, just slowly gave an address. If you want to see him so badly, come find him here. It was 11 at night. Grace found me in the funeral hall. I sat there numbly. Hearing Grace's footsteps, I mechanically turned my head. You came. Grace didn't speak. She looked down at what I was holding. It was an urn. This is. I slowly lowered my head, stroking the urn. Didn't I tell you? He had a car accident. I was expressionless. Only my eyes were swollen and red. If you'd rushed over after I called, you two could have seen each other one last time. Now it's all too late. Grace's hands began trembling. I interrupted her. I know, you just suspected he kidnapped Ethan. It doesn't matter, go investigate. Whatever results you find won't involve Ryan anymore. I picked up the urn and brushed past Grace. She called out to me, wait, he's my husband, I stopped. You want me to give you his ashes, right? I laughed, tears rolling down in large drops. That's impossible. Grace, when Ryan was alive, his love for you trapped him in the Mitchell family. Now he's dead, he can finally stop loving you. I'm taking him away, giving him freedom. Looking at Grace's face, I ultimately couldn't control my anger. Please don't say he's your husband anymore. After all, you don't deserve to be his wife. I took that urn and left. I couldn't possibly give it to Grace, because Ryan had only hastily grabbed some baby powder from his bathroom and scattered it inside. It was only after I urgently Googled it and told him that ashes aren't powder-like that he hurriedly found some leftover chicken bones to throw in. I walked to the riverside and scattered the baby powder and ribs into the river. Ryan, you're free, I said with a choked voice. I knew Grace was watching my back. After scattering the ashes, I got in my car and left. From beginning to end, I never gave Grace another glance. By my calculations, Chloe should be looking for me by now. She'd punished me for 3 days and the time was just about up. But Chloe didn't look for me. I knew it was because Ethan had gone to find her. Grace wasn't paying attention to Ethan anymore because of Ryan's death. Given Ethan's style, he would immediately move on to his next target. He would come to Chloe's side and reunite with her. The boy from outside the rose garden was finally found again. How could Chloe have any interest in me? The fake? I drove to the Cross River Bridge. In Boston, the bosses divided their territories among themselves. The place where I'd just scattered the ashes actually belonged to Chloe's territory. Now I'd come to Grace's territory. Sitting by the river, I reviewed what I'd left at the villa. The silver rose brooch, my last gift to Chloe. The suicide note, telling Chloe I loved her. The depression diagnosis, fake, indicating my cause of death. Review complete, I called Chloe. She answered, slightly drunk, hello. There was also a man's dissatisfied voice nearby. Chloe? Who is this? It was Ethan. Ignoring Ethan's voice, I began my performance calmly. Chloe, don't worry. I'm not calling to cling to you. I just wanted to say thank you. When I first came to the city, I had nothing. You gave me a place to live, shelter from the storm, and the illusion of being loved. Chloe's voice changed slightly. Jason, where are you? I said calmly. I'm also glad someone can take my place loving you from now on. Remember to drink less, and get your old knee injury checked regularly. Jason, where are you? I'm coming to find you right now. This was the first time I'd heard Chloe lose control. I smiled as the wind rushed in. Chloe, goodbye. I threw the phone into the river and jumped. River water poured into my throat. The next second, the flotation layer in my clothes kicked in. My back floated up, the oxygen tube from the special miniature scuba gear in my mouth, drifting along with the current. After drifting for about an hour, I hit a kayak. Looking up, Ryan sat on it with a paddle. Finally, get up here and help paddle, trying to kill me? I quickly climbed onto the kayak. And so, with me paddling left and Ryan paddling right, we rowed our little boat of friendship away from Boston. We didn't learn until much later that on the night we were huffing and puffing in our boat, Boston was turned upside down. After Grace came to her senses, she searched for me like a mad woman. I was the only person with Ryan when he died. Grace wanted to know if Ryan had left any words for her, if he resented her. By the riverside, Grace encountered Chloe, who was also searching for me like a madwoman. Over the past few years, Grace had seen Chloe at various events, but she'd never seen Chloe like this. Chloe sat by the river, her expression seeming calm yet completely insane. Salvage boats came and went on the river. Someone approached and stood before Chloe, trembling. Ms. Mitchell, Chloe spoke, her voice hoarse beyond recognition. You found the body, right? No, we found nothing. Chloe stood up and kicked the person into the river. Then keep fucking looking. Grace called to her. Chloe. Chloe didn't even lift an eyelid, as if she hadn't heard. Grace took a deep breath. Chloe, I understand how you feel right now. but we're too close to where the river meets the ocean. It's been 7 hours. The body probably can't be found. Chloe raised her eyes to look at Grace, her eyes completely bloodshot. The bodyguards behind Grace were frightened and quickly moved to protect her. For a moment they thought Chloe had gone mad. This underworld-born madwoman might even kick Grace. Chloe didn't kick Grace. She just stared at her, enunciating each word. Grace, what do you mean you understand how I feel? Your husband is dead and buried, but my Jason isn't. Every word cut deep. Grace's face went deathly pale. Jason jumped in your territory, Chloe said. If we can't find him, I'll hold you accountable too. The bodyguards' faces changed. Chloe was different from Grace. The Sullivan family came from politics. Grace valued reputation and dignity in everything. Chloe was different. She was a complete mad dog. When she said she'd hold the Sullivan family accountable, she meant it. Grace pinched the bridge of her nose and called her assistant over. Have our fleet join the search. That night, the riverside was brightly lit. Boats from the Sullivan and Mitchell families went back and forth on the river, but they found neither the living nor the dead. Grace left first, saying the Mitchell family was still waiting for her explanation. Chloe remained sitting numbly by the river. She murmured, Jason, you're definitely not dead, right? What Chloe and Grace felt had nothing to do with Ryan and me anymore. 1,000 miles away in Chicago, two happy and handsome rich young men appeared. Happy days always pass quickly. In the blink of an eye, we'd been in Chicago for 3 years. At this moment, Ryan and I were enjoying life in a nightclub's private room. A group of models surrounded us, all beautiful and talented. You'd think this was some girl group audition. Ryan said, Look at that one. Doesn't she look a bit like Chloe? I shuddered, then rolled my eyes. Like hell, that one looks more like Grace. After joking, a dark cloud inexplicably passed through my heart. These 3 years, Chloe had been completely silent. News about Grace came from time to time. She knelt and apologized to the Mitchell family at Ryan's funeral. She established a charity fund in Ryan's name. After Ryan left, Grace, who never drank before, began drinking heavily and was taken away by ambulance multiple times. But Chloe, there was never any news about her. I should have been happy. This meant I really was an insignificant stand-in to her. Dead meant dead. But somehow, there was always a tense string in my heart. Fortunately, the two mixed-race models beside me were very perceptive and immediately came forward to show their talents. Baby, we both have very flexible waists. Judge who's better. I became interested. Sure, I'll be completely fair. Over there, Ryan rolled his eyes at me. Vulgar. He turned to the models. Come, give me your hands. I'll read your palms. These 3 years, the emptiness of having endless money had gotten Ryan into mysticism. Astrology, tarot, numerology, palm reading. There was nothing he didn't dabble in. The closest to Ryan was a girl with very clean features. Ryan rarely let the same model stay by his side for more than 3 days, but this girl had been with Ryan for 3 whole months. The girl was named Emma, a talented student from a nearby university. Supposedly her mother went bankrupt and owed a lot of debt, so she came here to earn tuition by accompanying people for drinks. Emma was very pretty, with a cool demeanor, always wearing white dresses and thin-framed glasses. She did look a bit like a younger Grace. But Emma was different from Grace. When Ryan held her hand saying he'd read her palm, Emma's face turned bright red. She didn't dare look at Ryan, her snow-white skin turning pink. Ryan, Emma said softly, could I ask you for a favor? Ryan said, need money. No, Emma said quickly. She lowered her head and pointed outside the nightclub where several young men sat. Emma said a rich boy from her school was pursuing her aggressively. She didn't want to accept, only wanting to focus on her studies. But the boy didn't believe her and waited outside the nightclub every day for her to get off work. Emma asked Ryan if he could pretend to be her boyfriend to make the boy give up. Ryan said, easy. He stood up and openly took Emma's arm. Emma's face got even redder. They walked toward the rich boy together. At first it was normal negotiation, but soon the group inexplicably started scuffling. The rich boy was probably drunk and started crying emotionally, pointing at Ryan and shouting at Emma, how could he be serious about you? Someone like him will only play with your feelings. I'm the one who truly loves you. As we all know, gossiping is one of humanity's natural instincts. Even the DJ stopped playing music and craned his neck with the customers to watch the drama. I was originally watching gleefully from afar with my yoo-hoo, but suddenly, a chill ran up my spine. I couldn't say exactly what I saw. It was more of an eerie feeling. Grabbing both mine and Ryan's bags, I rushed toward Ryan. Ryan was still professionally acting, tightly holding Emma's hand, telling the boy, "Whether you believe it or not, I'm serious about Emma. I truly love her and want to marry her." After saying this, Ryan suddenly froze too. His spine stiffened vertebra by vertebra. In the flickering lights, he saw a figure in the distance staring at him unblinkingly. Dead silence. Grace stood in the shadows. Ryan's words had reached Grace's ears word for word. Now she looked at Ryan and Emma's clasped hands, her pupils frozen like ice. "Want to get married?" Grace smiled, her voice like crushed ice. "Ryan, have you divorced your last one?" While she spoke, Sullivan family bodyguards had already moved. They swam through the crowd like silent fish, approaching Ryan. Fortunately, I'd already reached Ryan's side. "What are you standing there for?" I pulled Ryan. "Run!" Glasses overturned, liquor splashed. Ryan and I knocked over 4 tables, 3 servers carrying trays, 2 carts, running forward desperately. The Sullivan bodyguards chased closely behind us, the distance closing. We burst into the underground parking garage. "Did you drink?" I asked Ryan. "Didn't have time," Ryan said. "You?" "Me neither." "Great, no one's drunk driving." I rapidly pulled out his car keys from Ryan's bag and threw mine to him. "Go, split up." Ryan understood what I was doing. He'd drive my car, I'd drive his. I'd use myself to cover for him. "Jason, stop dawdling, quick." No time left. I jumped into Ryan's car and floored it. Grace came for Ryan. Given her personality, she must have investigated Ryan beforehand. When both our cars drove out, the Sullivan forces would definitely chase this car registered under Ryan's name. Sure enough, not long after I drove out, pursuers appeared in my rearview mirror. Leading the chase was actually a roaring Harley motorcycle. The rider wore a helmet, biting at my tail, going so fast sparks nearly flew from the wheels. Where did Grace hire such a daredevil? This way of riding a motorcycle was completely reckless. Suddenly, my heart seemed to skip a beat. From what I knew of Grace, she wasn't that crazy. There was only one person this crazy, Chloe. Looking at the figure on the motorcycle again, how could I not recognize her? I frantically hit the gas, but I'd already reached maximum speed. Chloe's motorcycle sped in front of me. She did a sliding stop as if to intercept me, or maybe to die together with me. I had to slam on the brakes. The car stopped just millimeters from Chloe. My head hit hard in front, the airbag deployed, and I passed out. In my last moment of consciousness, Chloe opened the car door and lifted me out. She whispered in my ear, "Jason, I knew you couldn't bear to hit me." I couldn't answer her before falling into endless darkness. I had a dream. In the dream was my first meeting with Chloe. I just transmigrated to this world and hadn't met up with Ryan yet. Life was somewhat poor. I needed to work at a convenience store to earn tuition. Chloe walked into the store to buy cigarettes, covered in blood. All the customers fled the store in an instant, leaving only me standing behind the counter, staring at her in shock. Chloe lifted an eyelid. "Thinking about how to call the police?" I said, "You're hurt." I helped Chloe bandage her wounds. She seemed scary, but when sitting quietly, she was also very well behaved. I clumsily finished wrapping her arm and said, "All done." I got up to leave, but Chloe suddenly grabbed my wrist. She looked at me and said, "How much can you make working here for a month?" I told her a number. Chloe immediately offered almost 100 times that price. I was stunned. "That much money? What do you need me to do?" Chloe looked at my dumb expression and suddenly smiled roguishly. "Date me, will you?" I looked at her face, blood-stained yet unbelievably beautiful under the lights, and thought, why would I not want to? For the next 3 years, Chloe was moody like a mad dog. Only I knew how to stroke her fur. She remembered all my preferences. I didn't like cigarette smoke. She never smoked in front of me again. I was afraid of cold. She'd cancel all arrangements in winter to take me to hot springs. I was vain. On my birthday, she'd set off fireworks all night, letting all of Boston know Mr. Jason turned 21 today. Under that night's fireworks, Chloe held me. "Jason, promise me you'll always stay with me." I was so moved I cried, "I promise." "Chloe, why don't you propose now?" "I'll say yes to that too." The fireworks in the night sky dispersed. I woke up. The cold, damp air told me this was a basement. My hands were tied, and I instinctively struggled. After just one struggle, someone pressed my shoulder from behind. "Jason, you can't escape." Chloe removed her stockings and expertly tied a knot on my hands. She wore a black shirt with a silver rose pinned to her chest. Such cheap jewelry didn't match her haute couture clothes. But I recognized it. This was my last gift to Chloe. Chloe adjusted the knot and brought over medicine. "You're hurt. Need to apply medicine," she said. I struggled desperately, but Chloe held me down. She tied me securely, her distinct fingers roaming over my body. After 3 years, Chloe knew every sensitive spot on me. My whole body trembled, sweat dampening my hair, physiological tears flowing uncontrollably. Chloe gently pressed against my forehead, kissing away my tears like countless times before. "Why are you crying?" I said. "Chloe, can you let me go first? I need to save Ryan." I didn't know if Ryan had escaped. Worst case scenario, he'd also fallen into Grace's hands. Chloe said quietly, "What did you say?" I didn't hear clearly. I said, "Can you let me go?" Before I could finish, Chloe sealed all my words with a kiss. I bit her hard, the taste of blood instantly spreading in my mouth. But Chloe seemed to feel no pain at all. After a long while, she released me, wiping the blood from her lip with her thumb. "Jason, you've changed. You used to be so good, never bit anyone." She smiled, lovingly ruffling my hair. "But I like you this way too. I like every version of you." Chloe imprisoned me. Most of the time she personally stayed with me. If she had unavoidable business, over 20 bodyguards would guard outside together. There were no clocks in the basement. I didn't know how many days had passed. I only knew I'd started refusing food and water. When Chloe returned, I was very weak. She gripped my jaw and poured nutrients in. But minutes after she fed me, I'd throw it back up. Chloe went crazy with anger. She untied my ropes and pressed me against the wall. "Do you hate me that much?" Days without food or water left me without strength to resist Chloe. I mechanically repeated, "Let me go. I need to save Ryan." Chloe released me. "If you eat properly, I'll take you to see Ryan." I lifted my head sharply, hope lighting my eyes. "You know where Ryan is?" Chloe casually changed my clothes. Almost dead. Ryan was almost dead. One sentence made me burst into tears, tears falling on Chloe. She straightened as if burned. Chloe left me crying and went out. Half an hour later she returned and picked me up. I struggled desperately. She held me down. "Don't move. I'm taking you to see Ryan." In Chloe's car, I learned what had happened. That day under my cover, Ryan escaped. But it wasn't a successful escape, because Grace had Emma taken away. When Chloe brought me to the seaside, Emma was tied to a crane, hanging high by the sea. If the crane let go, she'd immediately fall into the white-capped ocean. Grace used this method to force Ryan to appear. Ryan came. At this moment, he stood on the high cliff, one step from falling into the sea. Compared to Grace's madness, Ryan seemed very calm. He said, "Go ahead and drop her. If she falls, I'll jump too." Grace stood dozens of meters from Ryan. She wanted to walk toward him, but every step she took, Ryan stepped back. The ocean was behind him. Grace didn't dare move. She stood still, silent for a long time. "You're serious? You love her that much?" Grace meant Emma. Ryan didn't speak. Grace was silent for a long time. She seemed to have much to say, but finally only said one thing: "Ethan is dead." Ryan's gaze remained unchanged. Actually, he and I already knew this. After we left Boston, Ethan disappeared too. Chloe had locked up Ethan. The Mitchell family used some interrogation methods common in gangs. Ethan couldn't hold up at all. In less than half an hour, he cried and confessed the kidnapping was self-directed. "She's the second female lead. She should be forever loyal to me. Even if she marries another man, her heart should only have me." Perhaps losing his mind at the end, Ethan shouted. Chloe didn't really understand and didn't care to. She had people collect evidence from the surroundings, packaged it with Ethan's confession, and made 2 copies. One for Grace, one for the Mitchell family. Her move directly severed relations between the Sullivan and Mitchell families. The Mitchell family learned Grace had killed Ryan for such a disreputable man and immediately terminated all cooperation with the Sullivans. But Grace couldn't even care about that. She hated herself more than the Mitchell family did. Of all human emotions, only regret is most terrible. Regret can evolve into any emotion, like rage, like hatred. At this crucial moment, Chloe gave Ethan to Grace. She said, "Killing him would dirty my hands. He's yours." Ethan was tortured by Grace for 3 months before finally escaping. He fled to find his male lead at the original protagonist's family. The usually antagonistic Mitchell and Sullivan families were rarely united in stance. The second female lead and female villain formed an instant alliance, jointly crushing the male lead and his first love. Chloe had told me all this in the basement. Ryan and I had almost identical reactions, no reaction. Seeing Ryan silent, Grace urgently said softly, "Ethan is dead. No one will come between us anymore. So, will you come back with me?" Grace asked hopefully. Without any hesitation, Ryan, sitting on the cliff edge, said, "No." His red shirt fluttered in the sea breeze like a brilliantly blooming flower on the cliff. The wind howled between them. The dozen meters might as well have been opposite ends of the earth. Perhaps the wind was too strong. Grace's eyes reddened. This was the first time I'd seen the always superior Grace submit. She said, "Ryan, I know I wronged you. Would you rather die than forgive me?" Ryan raised his eyes. His gaze was very calm. "Grace, there's nothing to forgive between us. I was your husband for 3 years and enjoyed many benefits. From that perspective, I should thank you." Ryan's tone was like politely facing a stranger. Grace suddenly began crying. She said, "Before Ethan died, he told me something. He said you and I were the same kind of person. So those 3 years were all fake, right?" A question from nowhere, but Ryan understood. Grace was asking if he'd never loved her. Everything was just deception and performance. Ryan's yes reached his lips several times but ultimately wasn't spoken. Finally he smiled, tears falling in the wind. "How could that be, Grace? I'm not a fucking professional actor. To act that well, of course it's because I really loved you." Grace's expression changed instantly. Her face went pale as porcelain, as if she might shatter the next second. Ryan smiled and smoothed his clothes, his eyes carrying the light of memory. "When I first transmigrated, my family made me attend a ball. I knew nothing and was terribly embarrassed. That suit had been sabotaged by my stepfather and stepbrother. It ripped wide open at the ball. No one helped me. Everyone waited to see me humiliated." Ryan looked at Grace. "Only you took off your jacket for me, then extended your hand, asking if you could invite me to dance. That day, every boy there envied me." My stepfather and stepbrother's eyes turned red with anger. Ryan smiled and wiped his tears. "So when I learned I'd be marrying you, I was really happy. I told myself it didn't matter if you didn't love me enough. I'd just love you more. As long as you didn't abandon me, I'd always stay with you." Grace's body swayed in the sea breeze. If the bodyguards hadn't supported her, she seemed about to collapse the next second. Ryan didn't look at Grace. He looked at the boundless ocean, his voice gentle. "Grace, you know what? Jason is my best friend. I want to do everything in life with him. We agreed to leave together, but after he told you about my car accident, I still had a shameful thought for a moment." Ryan turned back to look at Grace, tears blown into long lines by the sea wind. "I thought, if you heard I was in the hospital and immediately ran to find me, then I wouldn't leave. I'd give Jason all the money I'd prepared and stay here with you." Blood spilled from Grace's mouth. There had been rumors in Boston for years that she had stomach cancer, but it was never confirmed. Ryan didn't see. He looked up at the suspended Emma. "So I won't go with you, not because of Ethan or Emma. Killing her today would be useless because I don't love her that much. I simply don't love you anymore." This was the final verdict. After hearing this, Grace seemed to have her soul drained. She turned and slowly left. Her shirt billowed empty in the sea breeze. The bodyguards followed. "Ms. Sullivan." Grace coughed up blood, then more blood. She fell backward. "Ms. Sullivan." In the chaos, Ryan took the opportunity to save Emma. He noticed Chloe's car in the distance and me sitting inside. "Jason!" Ryan went crazy. He could tell at a glance what had happened and rushed over to save me. Chloe didn't give him the chance. She held me in her arms and told the driver, "Turn around." The car sped away, leaving Ryan far behind. Ryan had obviously called the police. As the car sped down the highway, we could hear police sirens wailing in the distance. The driver's face changed instantly. Chloe calmly kissed the top of my head. "It's fine. Just lose them." The driver gritted her teeth. She didn't dare advise but had to. "Ms. Mitchell, this isn't Boston. If you commit crimes here, there's no one above to protect you." Chloe acted like she couldn't hear, just holding me tightly. She touched my face and whispered in my ear, "Baby, I'm not like Grace." You see, when she heard Ryan didn't love her, she was so devastated she immediately gave up. "I'm different. You don't love me now, but you will later. Even if you don't, you'll have to die with me." She kissed me. "You promised to always stay with me, right?" Long silence in the car. I said, Chloe, I did promise to always stay with you. But the premise was you'd marry me. Chloe's body stiffened slightly. Those were the early good days, very brief, so brief we'd both almost forgotten. Back then I hadn't realized I was a stand-in, foolishly giving Chloe all my passion. Chloe, my buddy bought such a big pink diamond. I love it. When you propose to me, can you use a pink diamond ring? Chloe, I saw a little boy today as cute as a rice ball. Should we have a son later? Chloe held my waist, dropping kisses on it. All good. Whatever you want. There were never such pure good times again. In the car, I used my last strength to kiss Chloe. How about it? You go straight, marry me. I'll keep my promise and stay with you forever. Ryan found me sitting in a daze by a small park full of roses. He rushed up and hugged me crying, "You scared me to death. I really don't know what I'd do if you died." I pushed him. "Get off. Don't think I didn't hear you once considered not taking me for grace." Ryan cried enough and listened to me explain what happened. His eyes widened in disbelief. "So Chloe just let you go?" I said, "Yeah. Isn't she a psycho? I thought she'd die with you." I smiled. Wind blew past my eyes, my heart empty. I understand Chloe. Even if she's willing to die with me, she won't marry me. No one understood Chloe's ambition better than me. Chloe was the Mitchell family's illegitimate daughter. More accurately, her mother was once her father's secretary. Chloe's birth was the product of rape. But no one believed it. Everyone cursed Chloe's mother, cursing the slutty secretary for seducing her boss, trying to use pregnancy to climb up. Under endless cold stares, Chloe's mother died early. Chloe was only 7 or 8 then. She kowtowed at her mother's grave. From then on, her life goal was to climb up at any cost. Though her background wasn't clean, given how powerful she'd become, plenty of sons from prestigious families were willing to marry her. I was just reminding her, she'd made such a scene for me. The decades of struggle before this, did she not want them anymore? She didn't let me go. She let herself go. I said softly to Ryan. For the next 2 years, I didn't see Chloe again. This person completely disappeared from my life, left no trace. Ryan and I laughed and joked every day, living in a drunken stupor. Occasionally I'd ask him, "Those things you said to Grace, were they true or just to save Emma?" Ryan would always not hear, immediately grabbing a new model's hand. "Your palm reading is good, wealthy." I stopped asking, laughing it off. Much later, I finally met Chloe. I was walking in a park with Ryan when I suddenly saw a motorcycle parked by the road. Turning around, I saw Chloe. She wore a black shirt, still handsome and gloomy. She walked over. What a coincidence. She wasn't looking for me, just a chance encounter. I'd heard a deputy governor's son in Chicago had seen Chloe once, fallen in love at first sight, loved her desperately. For Chloe, this was a good opportunity. I asked her, "Here to see your boyfriend?" She nodded. "Yeah. Why aren't you going?" A bit nervous, having a smoke here. She raised the menthol cigarette in her hand, then subconsciously put it out. This was her habitual action. I had respiratory problems. She initially complained I was delicate, but later would immediately extinguish cigarettes when she saw me. We were silent together for a while. Chloe said casually, "Long time no see, wanna chat?" Ryan looked at me. I nodded. Only then did Ryan tactfully leave. "I'll wait at the coffee shop." Chloe and I walked together for a bit. We passed an ice cream stand with huge cones topped with several scoops. In the past, I would have demanded Chloe buy me one. This time I didn't ask, but Chloe took the initiative to buy one. She tried to hand it to me. I paused and smiled. "Thanks, but my wife is pregnant. She hasn't had much appetite lately. The doctor said to avoid cold foods, so I'm abstaining with her." Maybe it was my imagination. Chloe's hand shook violently, but almost the next instant, she smiled as if nothing happened. "I see." She held the huge cone and said quietly, "Then I'll go meet my boyfriend," she said. A little girl ran up, staring longingly at the ice cream in Chloe's hand. I said, "Give it to the child. I can't eat it anyway." Chloe paused and said, "Okay." She handed the ice cream to the little girl. The little girl said sweetly, "Thank you, sister." She ran off with the ice cream. The sunset at this moment gilded the distant roses as if they'd never fade. I heard Chloe say, "Goodbye." I also said, "Goodbye." She put on her helmet, got on her motorcycle, and disappeared into the sunset. Ryan appeared beside me at some point. Why lie to her? I wasn't married, let alone have a pregnant wife. I sighed. She came for a blind date. This alliance is very important to her. The Mitchell family has always hoped she'd marry someone with political connections to clean up her not-so-clean background. This opportunity is so crucial, so let's not distract her anymore. Ryan hugged me. Does it hurt? No. Do you really not love Chloe anymore? Does Grace really have late-stage stomach cancer and wants to see you? Won't you consider visiting her? Let's go drink. Let's go. Chloe sometimes felt Jason understood her well. Sometimes she felt he didn't understand enough. But the lack of understanding was Chloe's own deliberate doing. After all, Jason was positioned as just a lover. No boss would let a lover fully understand them. For example, Jason didn't know that Chloe's rise from an illegitimate daughter locked in a mental hospital to the Mitchell family heir was largely thanks to a certain woman's help. That woman had been in gangs since her teens, daring to storm enemy strongholds alone with just a watermelon knife. She possessed all the qualities of a generation's kingpin and was one of Boston's most renowned figures. With her help, Chloe first gained footing in the gangs, then used all her influence to eliminate her sisters one by one until her mother left a will making her the sole heir. Chloe thought this woman would enjoy this power map with her, but she didn't. The woman seemed to suddenly settle down at 36. She said she had a man she deeply loved who'd gotten her pregnant. He feared the violence and wanted her to retire and live peacefully. If it were the current Chloe, she'd definitely advise the woman that there's no retiring from the underworld. You either go all the way or die trying to turn back. But back then, she didn't understand this principle. After the woman retired, enemies came calling. They kidnapped the woman's husband, demanding she come alone to ransom him. The once cold and ruthless woman, as if she'd lost her mind, did whatever the kidnappers said. When Chloe found the woman, she was dumped on the roadside without a single intact bone. She incredibly still had breath left. Seeing Chloe, her first words were, "Is he okay?" Chloe knew she meant the man. After a pause, she said, "He's fine." Only then did the woman relax. She looked at this young person she'd personally trained, leaving final teachings. "Sister, remember my words. To climb up, you can't have weaknesses. When a woman truly gives her heart to a man, others call it true love. In our line of work, it's called a death trap. Don't tell your brother-in-law I died. Just say I fell for another man and left him some money. Tell him not to look for me anymore." Chloe nodded in agreement, and the woman died peacefully. Chloe was silent for a long time facing the woman's corpse. She'd lied to her. The enemies had left no survivors. The woman's husband was also dead, his body just dozens of meters from hers. Chloe had just used her body to block him from view. Chloe arranged funerals for the woman and her husband, then slaughtered the enemy family completely. For nearly the next decade, Chloe remembered the woman's words. She climbed higher than her mentor. She couldn't have weaknesses. The outside world all said the boy who listened to her play piano outside the mental hospital was her first love. Chloe wanted to laugh every time she heard this. Too funny. She was someone who dared pull a knife on her own mother. A little boy who listened to her play piano twice outside. How important could he be? But she was happy to let the outside world think this. Compared to having no weakness, having a fake weakness wasn't better? And besides, Chloe felt if the outside world thought she loved this so-called first love, then Jason would be safer. Jason was the man who'd been with Chloe the longest. Chloe remembered her mentor's words. Men could be kept, could be played with, but not loved. Chloe hadn't expected to fall. 3 years of self-deception, not thinking about this question until Jason asked her at her most passionate moment. "Do you love me?" Chloe almost blurted out yes. She then realized and felt bone-deep fear. Her mentor's shattered bones and her pregnant husband's nearby corpse appeared before her like a nightmare. Chloe stood up. She couldn't face this question and could only flee in defeat. She knew Jason was crying behind her. He was good, crying almost silently, but her heart throbbed with pain. Chloe felt she was finished. She felt she needed distance, needed withdrawal. Until she was certain she wouldn't get emotionally involved, she couldn't see Jason again. She left that villa for 3 days. To distract herself, she met Ethan. She was very impatient with Ethan's reminiscing. The only interesting thing was his relationship with Grace. Supposedly Grace had repeatedly abandoned Mr. Mitchell for this guy. Then maybe she could indirectly control Grace by controlling this guy. Just when Chloe felt her heart was indeed still on her career, Jason died. Chloe sped over on her motorcycle, almost crashing into the river with her bike. The Mitchell family elders were all furious. Chloe's actions had ruined years of planning, They'd previously found many sons from prestigious families as marriage candidates to clean up Chloe's dirty background. In these circles' marriages, keeping lovers was fine, having a first love was fine. But going crazy enough over a stand-in to almost lose your life was very much not fine. Chloe had almost destroyed her years of planning overnight. But she couldn't even care. She sat by the river with only one thought. Jason wasn't dead. Definitely not dead. She had no evidence, but she just felt if her heart was still beating, then the person she loved definitely existed somewhere in the world. Therefore, while Grace had completely given up on herself, drinking herself into stomach cancer, Chloe was relentlessly searching the entire world. The Mitchell family didn't have enough people, so she barged directly into Grace's home. "Lend me your people," Grace said. "Why should I?" Chloe said. "Suit yourself." She turned to leave. Grace helplessly called her back. "Whoever you need, go ahead." Chloe finally found Jason. But Jason said he wanted her to go straight and marry him. Chloe used to think men were idiots. Why did they all want marriage? But now, on the private plane back to Boston, she couldn't help the corners of her mouth rising. A strange happiness filled her heart. Chloe suddenly remembered her mentor. This time she didn't think of the woman's shattered bones. Instead, she remembered the smile on the woman's face when she died. So she hadn't regretted her choice after all. Chloe returned to Boston. She had to do work 10,000 times more meticulous than her mentor. She didn't care about herself, but she couldn't implicate Jason. She did extremely detailed work, cutting off her identity, transferring assets, arranging security. She had to ensure that after going straight, no enemies would threaten Jason. This work took her 2 years. 2 years later, Chloe could finally set off. She didn't want anything in Boston anymore. She was no longer Chloe Mitchell. She could be anyone, as long as she could be with Jason. But Jason hadn't waited for her. His wife was pregnant. Chloe gathered courage, wanting to ask who his wife was, if he was happy now. She had too many questions but asked nothing in the end. Chloe left. The Mitchell family desperately urged her, saying the Chicago gentleman was eager to meet her. For a moment, Chloe thought this was fine too. Go on the blind date, marry a husband she didn't love as much but who loved her deeply, clean up her background, play with power. Countless women did this anyway. But at the last moment, Chloe thought of Grace. Going down this path, she'd just be the next Grace. Chloe suddenly turned the car around. The sunset was thrown behind her. The evening wind left in her wake. She was no longer a young girl and didn't know if she could still catch up to her beloved boy. But she drove toward where the boy was, never looking back. The little girl held the ice cream, bouncing up to a little boy. "This is from a very pretty big sister and a very handsome big brother," the little girl said proudly. "For you." The little boy took it. "Why give it to me?" "Because my name is Summer and his is River, and we both like sweet things." The little girl smiled sweetly. He took a bite of ice cream and suddenly exclaimed. The ice cream had melted. A small silver rose brooch fell out of the cone. Hooked onto the pin of the brooch was an enormous, sparkling pink diamond ring. The little girl held the rose brooch. The little boy held the ring. Together they looked back. The sun had already set. Only a garden of roses bloomed, boundless and magnificent.